Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTK-DB, Let's Talk Radio. It's great to see you. Welcome. We're going to be having Tracey Escobar, the Red Couch Medium, on in a bit, and it's going to be great to talk to her because I'm going to be really interested in hearing her story. And so, gosh, what a week, right? We're always working, we're always improving, we're always living life, and life throws you curveballs sometimes, and you just got to go with the flow. You know, some of us go kicking and screaming with the flow, some of us smile through the flow, others are saying expletives through the flow, but we get along. And you know, I always encourage go with the flow because it's just like the resistance of the current. It's just we have to surrender. We have to surrender to the current and float, and we rise, and we meet the moment. So I'm up north, and we're fixing a house, and we're helping family, and so we're just going with the flow as we do it. The theme of the day, the theme of the week, really, with what I wanted to provide with some insight is, you know, I talk about a lot following the trail, following the breadcrumb trail that spirit leads. And sometimes that's not easy because we're always like, you know, we're always learning about signs and how to see them, how to work with them. And we ask for them constantly, especially, you know, if we're praying, we're meditating, we're on the spiritual path, because there's answers and signs all around us. Always. There's so many pathways of communication. I really feel like we're never alone, and we can always reach out to multiple sources. Like, think about it, friends, family, spirit, if you could also consider that friend and family as well in a different vehicle. We have then other beings, right? We have other beings, or, you know, the universe. Just there's so many different facets of what friendship, family, and unity can be to make us feel like, wow, I have the missing piece of the puzzle now, or I have that breadcrumb that keeps me going. And, you know, I didn't have enough to sustain myself. Like, my battery wasn't full just myself, but that unity or that additional help, whether it comes from something unexpected or a great friend or a great resource or spirit, it always gives you that extra and more. And so some of my favorite ways to follow the breadcrumbs are I write down little reminders for myself constantly. Sometimes I don't always remember to, and they float around in my head, and I go, oh gosh, that would have helped, right? But I always like make these little notes. So I have like Post-its kind of everywhere, especially in my office. And it used to be like throughout my whole entire home, I just have like Post-its or like pieces of paper, because I'd have like all these ideas, and it would either be, you know, a creative inspiration idea or something with like to improve health or like a reminder with a friend. It would be everything that you would imagine. It would just be idea, even like an insightful post, right? Or journaling, but all these little ideas. And I would find as I collect them, no matter kind of what I went through in life, whether I was like, wow, was I able to accomplish this? Or what was I able to do? Or I'm not sure if I have that next piece. All I'd have to look is back at are those little reminders. And I go, wow, I've already accomplished like all these things that I kind of wouldn't have had recollection of unless I went back and looked. Or I have all these notes of these wonderful ideas and these wonderful reminders. That's the next step forward. So whether it's, yes, life is kind of crazy and spontaneous and you're having like these little ideas and help along the way, or whether it's just like that next moment. For me, the trail of those breadcrumbs really help me in writing, but writing has always been my friend. Like writing has always been a source for channeling, clarity, a source of meditation, and everyone has that in different ways. Like I used to use dreams a lot. I've been using them a little bit more lately, I found. But we go in waves of how we work with inspiration, spirit, intuition, how we have help within our lives. And so I remember when I really was first developing my psychic mediumship, I'd have a ton of dreams. And there would be, clues to what's going on with my friends and family within the dreams. There would be sometimes things that were upcoming for me. And as long as I kind of journaled or remembered to think about it in the morning, kind of like made space to remember and made space to reflect on and made space to train my brain like that, I noticed that I received a tremendous amount of help, and I had a tremendous amount of poise and resolve and resiliency because of that, cultivating that space. So there's many different points all around us. In fact, like when a psychic medium is reading another person, they're aware of all these lifelines around a person of, like, hey, like, have you touched back within this person? Or have you ever thought about this? Or, you've always loved that. Like there's these reminders that when a person reads of how that they can get unstuck as well, how they can continue flow within their life, how they can be reminded, or what's waiting for them. And those things come to us whether, we're meditating, channeling, dreaming, or receiving spirit communication. Those things come to us as well when we practice within ourselves. So these things are very real. They're not just, spiritual solo epiphanies isolated. That these things are very real where everyone can tap into. It's just people tap into them in different ways. And there's so many different points. That's why I firmly believe within my life experience, even though life is crazy, don't get me wrong, there's always a way and there's always help on the way. And whether it's may the universe or God go before me and set the way, or lighting up a spiritual or energetic firework and asking for help and know that it's coming with full faith, it's all around. And that's why I just want to give to you. So whether it's 1,000 post-it notes, dream journaling, or meditating, find your avenues. And they're different. I want to encourage that to you. They're different for everybody, and they come at different points in your life. What might have worked for you 5 years ago can always be reintroduced in your life if you want to refresh it, or you might find a different stimulation with how you are connecting with spirit and your soul. And all of it is good. All of it's okay. And I know that's part of, I think, the difficulty. People get inundated with where do I start? What do I do? Where do I look? How do I focus? And they feel so lost. And sometimes when they're searching, they already feel lost. So it's very overwhelming. But honestly, that is a part of the journey, having so much faith that even when you feel so lost and it is so dark, that if you just allow yourself to go, I'm going to see what comes next. I'm going to ask for help, what surfaces within the uncertainty. And so many people come when they're developing as students or when they're trying to find meaning within their life. And they're just like, where do I start? Where do I go? And you have to listen to your soul. You have to listen to what you're pulled to within the moment, or what stimulates you again in the moment, if connected to the past, to just propel things forward, because life always goes forward with us. It really does. So it's just a matter of being present in the moment so we can activate that with flow rather than resistance. So I just want to give that to you, more of the spiritual breadcrumbs. That's one of my favorite topics in many forms. And I'm really excited to have Tracey come on and talk with her, and we will have her on in a moment. So please, if you have any questions, I always let people know, pop down your questions. We will get to them towards kind of the middle end of the show. And then that's a way to have your, questions about spirit answered. And it's not readings. It's more about like Tracey's life or what we're talking about within the topic. So you can have personal insight with, what you're going through on your own spiritual journey. So pop them down. We're going to talk to you and we'll bring Tracey in. We will see you in a few.
Want to keep up with the latest at the station? How about catch up on your favorite shows on the go? Download the free WLTK-DB mobile app on the App Store and Google Play. Watch, listen, and shop right from the palm of your hand. The WLTK-DB mobile app. The truth is here and now. Get yours today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And I want to bring Tracey in. Hello. Hi, Tracey.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Hi.
Welcome. I want to introduce you to everybody. So, Tracey Escobar, the Red Couch Medium. Tracey is a healer, teacher, and author and comes from a long line of gifted women within her family. At the age of 19, personal tragedy struck with the sudden loss of her father. That event sent her on a course to helping others heal. She is the author of You Can Be a Medium and the Oracle Cards Messages from Above, and also the co-host of the bi-weekly podcast, the Metaphysical Happy Hour, Metaphysical Happy Hour. Please give a warm welcome to Tracey.
Yay! Hi. Hi, everybody.
I'm so excited to meet you and also to hear your story because there's a reason you're called the Red Couch Medium. And I'm like, I don't know that story. I don't know. I'm so intrigued.
A lot of people ask me that question, like, why a red couch? How weird is that? Yeah.
There's a reason.
There's no reason. It was just random.
Red's my favorite color, so I'm intrigued. I feel like red is actually a great color within mediumship. It really grounds the energy.
Mm-hmm. It really, really does. And red became super important to me during my journey. So when I became awakened, I was starting to see the color red everywhere. And, they always say the red cardinal is for spirit. And so I was starting to see the red cardinals everywhere. And I was starting to, finally attach those to my father because I lost my dad when I was 19. And so I started attaching the red cardinal to my dad. And then all of a sudden, I was starting to develop and meditate and journal because I kind of just woke up being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I went through like this whole self-development journey where I was meditating and I was journaling and I was just trying to find my happiness. And so at that point in time, with all the meditating and everything, red just starting appearing in places, I just noticed red flowers, just the red everywhere was like popping out at me. They say colors start becoming more vibrant when you become awakened. And that's how it was for me. Red, it was just crazy. And so I was starting to have, I was listening to you before we got on and just about dreams in the beginning. My dreams were crazy in the beginning and visions were crazy in the beginning. And so I was starting to have prolific dreams too, where things were starting to become real and I was doing dream journaling and all that stuff. And I was also having like these quick visions and things like that. And so I was hiking in the woods one day. We were on a hike here locally, me and my friend. And again, I had this really weird vision when we were walking and I kind of just stopped in my tracks and I just kind of told them, I was like, how weird. I just had a vision of a random red couch out here in the middle of nowhere. And I said, wouldn't that be kind of freaky if I saw one? I mean, yeah. And that person knew what I was kind of going through at that time, knew that I was starting to have some weird experiences. And so they kind of just blew it off. And it's like, yeah, it would be weird, but whatever, keep walking. And so we did. We walked and nothing happened that day. I promise nothing happened. But I think it's just spirit is so smart. And they knew that I needed some kind of validation to get on this journey. And so about a week later, my dryer broke and it forced me to have to go to a laundromat. And so my friend went with me to this laundromat, and when we put the clothes in the dryer, we said, well, let's just kind of go for a walk. And behind the laundromat is a lake. So we said, well, let's just kind of go for a walk along the lake. And remember, Red, my dad, weird dreams were happening. I knew I wanted to be a medium, but I didn't know how I could be a medium, just kind of all those kinds of things. And so we're walking, and as we turned the building, I'm not even kidding, there was an abandoned red couch right there in our pathway to the lake. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. Now you can't make that crap up, right? It's like the way spirit speaks to us, it's just crazy.
It's beautiful the way that spirit speaks to us. And oh, you froze. Let's see if you come back. Those things are real. That's like a breadcrumb, as we're saying, like
Yes.
follow this trail.
Yes. And I think that's where I first learned. I'm going to start just following the breadcrumbs. I'm just going to trust and go. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I think that was a message from my dad to say, you're on the right path. I think you should go for it. And so since that was like a first wow experience from spirit, I decided to hold on to it and make that a part of my business name. So the Red Couch Medium is what I became.
Do you, in an ode to that moment, do you have any red couches around that you?
I have a smaller red couch in my office, but it's really interesting. When I go travel, I travel a lot. And when I travel like across the country or even to another country, I'm always looking for the tattered red couch. So I've got a lot of pictures of red couches from all over, and people will send me, oh, look at this red couch was in the trash can. Oh, yay. So yeah, I think I'm going to make a table book of pictures of all the red couches along my journey as soon as I get enough to make a book. Yeah.
That makes sense. I like that. I'm a fan of that. I really am. Do you find that the red couch has also been like a symbol that you can find understanding from within people within readings?
Yeah. So I just use the red couch, and sometimes I'll picture just people sitting on it just to make them comfortable, right? So I think the red couch is an inviting moment, right? So if someone wants a reading, maybe they can picture the red couch and just sitting on it. It's funny, someone pointed out in another podcast of my book. So I have the cover of my book, and I'm not sitting on the couch, I'm sitting on the floor. And they were like, that's kind of a weird cover. Why wouldn't you be sitting on the couch? And I said, well, because the couch is for all the dead people, right? I gotta leave the couch for them.
It's a fair point.
Yeah, I'm just inviting them to come sit with me. But I use the red couch as a symbol, and it's kind of crazy. Everybody is starting to get their own symbols of their own validations. When I first started this journey, I wanted to seek out, and I don't know about you, but I was looking for someone just to validate me, tell me this is what I'm supposed to do, right? And I think it took a long time to finally learn that the answers were all within me. So I can use the couch as the symbol from spirit to say it's all within me. I didn't have to go seek that validation from anybody else.
Oh man, that is excellent. And just like what a symbol of comfort, like come on down,
Come on
just
down.
have a seat and,
open up. Let's chit chat.
chat. Oh gosh. So you're talking about at 19, these experiences started like really unfolding for you due to the loss of your father. If I may ask, because I always like to learn from people's perspective of their life. How was your life before you had that awakening? Did you have any intuitive moments? Did you notice that you were more perceptive than the average person? What kind of experiences did you have before your awakening?
Yeah, so good question. My dad died at 19, and I didn't have any experiences until I was 45. So a lot of years went past me, right? And I remember I became interested in death because my dad died. And, if someone really important to you dies, I think we all kind of go through that. Oh my God, this can't be the end. This can't be the last time I ever see this person. So I became fascinated in death, and I started to watch all the shows that started to come out with John Edwards, Sylvia Brown, all the pioneers of what we do. And always wishing it could be me, I think. Always wondering, God, why didn't God give me that gift, right? Because that's what I thought at the time. I thought you had to be super special. So I wasted a lot of years not understanding it and not understanding that kind of we all have this kind of gift within us, right? So it wasn't until 45 that I even started to have my awakening process and started to realize, wow, maybe I can do it, right? Maybe someone told me in a reading once that anybody can do this work. I was like, where is my nearest store? How do I learn? Where do I go, right? And that's all it took was someone to tell me that we could. And I think that's why I wrote my book, so that people can understand that we all have this little gift, that we all have it. So no, I didn't have any experience as a child. My first experience, probably I did some practice sessions at some training classes, but my real first memorable experience was at Arthur Findlay College in London, England. That was probably my first, oh my God, did I just talk to somebody who's dead? I think I did. And I got super excited. And I was like, oh my God, I can do this. So that was my first one. It was over in Arthur Findlay.
So were there a lot of, I guess, little things that you just didn't take into account? Like looking back, like for instance, like I grew up with a very practical upbringing. And so I was having actually a lot of experiences, but I was just like, oh, like my logic deduced that, right? You know what I mean? Or if someone was perceptive, they probably would have maybe done the same thing too, right?
Yeah.
It was a lot of that.
I think the only thing I can remember as a child, I never had an experience. I never saw my grandpa, or I never thought someone was passed away when they weren't yet. I remember just feeling different. And I don't know, it's just a feeling that stayed with me ever since I can remember, just feeling different. But really, that's the crazy thing. I don't think I had any experiences. And that's what makes me really, truly believe that some are born with a heightened sense already. But then I think some people come into it later in life. And I don't know if that's because of trauma, or if that was because of divine timing, right? So before my awakening, I spent most of my 20s being young. I had 3 kids by the time I was 24, married at 20. So just raising kids, working, running, numbing, and hiding from all my trauma, right? Not realizing what that was, right? Staying busy all the time. I had some back issues. I got addicted to pills at one point. So I think, gosh, up until I was 45, I was just trying to survive life every single day, right?
Oh, hey, I hear you. It's interesting, like, you're like, I felt different. And sometimes when people feel different, they can be more empathetic because they understand, right, that like everyone kind of just doesn't feel quite right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. And you did mention that you were doing like a lot of numbing. I hear that from a lot of highly sensitive people, like that's the coping mechanism.
That was the coping mechanism. I just didn't want to feel anything. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you said at 45, well, at 19, yes, that opened things up a little bit, but 45 was really when you had the true experience that blew the lid off.
It
and
did.
So what a place to experience it at Arthur Findlay College, right?
That was exciting. You want to hear the story of how it happened? It's kind of a cool story.
Yeah, please. I'm very curious. Yes.
Yeah. So if you can picture me being young mom, right? Just think about it. At 45, I was divorced. My kids had gone off to college and they're starting to do their own things. I was living paycheck to paycheck. And at that time I had come into some money. So the first thing I did before I even started my awakening process was book a month-long trip to London, England, because my best friend had just moved there. Her husband got a job over there. So I said, I have this money. I'm going to take a trip. I've never really been out of the country, except for when I was a little girl. I was a military brat. But other than that, no. So we booked a trip. It was in the books. It was paid for. I was going. And then this psychic said, you could do this kind of work. So I found a metaphysical store locally, started going to that. I started going to meditation classes. And then someone told me, well, have you ever heard of this college called Arthur Findlay? And I was like, never heard of it. And they said, well, it's a college in England. where mediums from all over the world travel and they go train for a week at a time with these tutors. I was like, I'm going. That's it. I'm already have my ticket to London. I'm already staying a whole month. So I went and found a week in that month in April that I was going to be there, who was going to be teaching. And I found a course and I went. And so I was super excited. I get to go. At that time I had 0 mediums on my Facebook and now I have thousands. It's just crazy, right? How life can change. I had no mediums friends. So I was walking into a hornet's nest. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. So being brand new, I was super nervous. It's a place you stay at for the whole 7 days. And I got interviewed at first to find out what class I'd be put in. I got lumped in with the beginner intermediate class. I'm not really sure why, but I go to class. And on the very second day, I remember my tutor was Jackie Wright, and she kind of said, anybody in here never really connect to spirit? And I raised my hand at the time because at that time I didn't know. If you don't know and if you don't have training, you don't know what's happening, right? Or you don't know what to think or feel. Or I always thought that spirit was right here talking to people in full sentences and it was easy, right? Had no idea. And so she said, well, I want you to come up in the front of the class. And I thought I was just going to get a free reading out of it. And she goes, no, I want you to close your eyes. We're going to do it. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm up in front of 17 other people in class. Never done it before. And she says, close your eyes and I'm going to stand right here next to you. And then she starts leading me. And to be 100% honest, Kelly, I thought I was making everything up, right? She goes, who's standing at the doorway? I said, there's a lady standing at the doorway. What does she look like? She's short. She's a little plumper, right? What is she to somebody in this room? She's somebody's mother. How'd she die? She died of stomach cancer. All right, what did she like to do? She liked to make cards. So we kept going on and on. And again, I'm making all this stuff up in my head. At least I thought so, right? And then my tutor goes, okay, I want you to open your eyes. And I want you to look around this room and tell me who this mom belongs to. I was like, you've got to be kidding. Did I tell you I've never done this before? Like my knees are shaking. I'm sweating profusely. But I said, okay, I'm just going to go with it. And so I kind of looked at everybody around the room and I locked eyes with this one lady on my way back. And I said, it's your mom. And the lady said, yeah, that was my mom. I was like, oh my God. And then the tutor goes, I want you to give her a name that would make sense to her. I was like, a name? Me? I've never done this before, right? So I said, okay, Michael. And then the lady looks at me and tears are starting to go down her face. And she goes, that was my husband. And he died a month ago. So I was like, okay. So after that moment, I ran up to my room and I said, I am a medium. I am a medium. I am a medium. That was my first real experience where I knew I was connecting to somebody and I knew I could do it. And there you go. And then the rest is history. I just started training from that point on. I spent like 5 years in training, which is another problem with some of us. We want to train until we're perfect. And that never happens, right? We're never going to be perfect, right? But we train and train and train and train and train. And then finally, I think COVID happened. We're forced to slow down. TikTok became super popular. I got on TikTok and it forced me to have to do readings. So I went from maybe 1 or 2 or 3 readings a month to 100. So that's kind of how
100 in a month?
127 one month. It was crazy.
That's a huge change. Oh my goodness.
Huge. But it forced me out of my comfort zone. It forced me to do it, right? Because we're just so scared at first. Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to Arthur Findlay and that story in a second, but I need to wow. So it's like the floodgates opened for you.
Yes. I got into some controversy on TikTok with another creator and it made me I'm not blown up because I only have 25,000 followers. That's not a lot for TikTok. But at the time it blew so fast. It got there so fast. Yeah, I was inundated. And I did that probably at that pace for almost a year.
Wow.
And then I slowed down a little bit and now I've slowed down a lot because I'm just getting burnt out. So it's like 2 days a week, 2 readings a night, and right? Because you get on burnout. At first, yes. I didn't want to tell anybody no. And then you start to get to this place where, okay, I need to put some boundaries up because I'm burning out myself. So it's been an interesting experience.
Burnout is a real thing. And, we have different stamina at different times. And there's some people that are like 4 readings is great for me. Mm-hmm. And other people are like 2 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And, right. And I'm a really firm believer of having certain days where there's no spirit focus, because it's like you have to you have to have a spouse or a partner, clean the house, and if your brain is not thinking about that stuff, you're just kind of floating.
You still got to be human, right?
Yeah. For
Stuff still
real.
happens. We still get sick. It's just crazy, right?
Yes, exactly. And all that's kind of allocated for, right? When you give yourself a different schedule.
It is. And so now I'm trying to figure out, okay, I shouldn't probably be booking out months at a time because I never know how what's going to happen in that month, how it's going to feel in that month. Right. So I'm still trying to figure out scheduling and what works best for me. But it's been a really good ride. Yeah.
For sure. Like, yeah, like disclaimers going forward, like,
Yeah.
after a certain time, like there will be like a check-in, right? Because yeah, like 3 months in advance, you're like, completely change.
You can,
You're absolutely right. It's amazing. People who are booked a year in advance or 6 months in advance.
how, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
There are ways, but wow. But
No, wow.
that's what an avalanche. Wow, what a change of life. That's incredible. So, if I may ask, how has your life changed from, I guess, putting yourself out there to fully embracing, the call and people, being ready to say,
Mhm.
hey, okay, like, I want a reading and you can do this if you want it every day of the week. How has your life changed to accommodate this? How has your energy changed?
Yeah.
What do you know that you didn't know before?
Yeah. So I feel like I finally got my purpose, right? So there's that energy behind, oh, this is what I'm doing. This is what I like to do. I'm getting some momentum behind it. Because I'm a big believer in flowing. And if it's meant to be, the universe will put you there, right? And they'll get you there. So kind of just learning to surrender. My confidence is so much better since doing this work. Just me. I'm just better as a person, right? And
Yes.
continually trying to grow and trying to learn and trying to just be a better human. So I think that's helped. Um, from a time standpoint, I mean, it works for me. I'm dating and he never gets home until late at night. So I'm able to do a couple of readings and I cut my time off at a certain time every night and I won't do it past that so I can have balance, right? Because I think it's important to have work-life balance.
Yes.
Travel. I try to travel every chance that I get, and that's my downtime and recharge time. Yeah, for sure. But I'm doing what I love. Now, the time is going to come soon enough, or maybe I can't do my full-time job anymore and this because they're starting to overlap a little bit, right? So then there'll be some more decisions to be made when that time comes, when it's time to quit the corporate job. But right now, it's working okay.
Right now it's all coming together as needed until the next big change. But that's coming.
That's
Gosh,
coming. I feel it squeezing me too, and I know it's coming. Yeah.
there's a lot of red energy behind that, let me tell you.
Yes. Are you doing it full time?
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I agree with you. It makes me a happier person. It makes me
Yeah.
feel connected, and everything that you say, I can
Mhm.
agree with. When you find your purpose and you find what makes you happy, you feel those feelings, and you really change as a person. You
I
do.
do. I've got more creativity, like creating stuff and more ideas, more things flowing through me. So I don't know, it just makes me a better person altogether. Yeah. Can't wait.
I am an advocate. People just go on the path and see what happens.
Find
Um,
the magic. There's magic out there. Yeah. Yes.
going speaking of magic in Arthur Findlay College. Okay, so after that first initial like whoa, like you talked about like I'm saying like a lot. You talked about with so much specificity, the stomach cancer and Michael and that. Were you like, whoa, I did that?
Yes. I did that. I know. And then I wonder why later, how come some aren't as good as those, right? It's not always easy.
There's a reason. There really is. You never know
There
what you're
is.
gonna do.
I'm a big
But
believer in the beginning. Spirit talks loud and proud because they want to get you
yes.
on there. Don't you believe that?
Oh yes. I'm a firm believer of they have to use more. They're using more energy to get your attention in the beginning, and then after you realize to work with them, they don't have to use the same amount of energy, and you start actually working more to meet them in the middle, and so your
Mhm.
experience is actually quite different.
It is
Yeah.
different. Yeah. I try to tell people, they're like, are your gifts getting so much better? I was like, it's just weird. In the beginning, they were the clairvoyance was more there, right? And then they took it away. I'm like, whoa. And then I had to do everything just off of a knowing. So it's been, me and spirit have had a ride, right? Because they'll take something away from me and then they'll give it back to me once I get the other part. So it's just, they're always teaching. And I like to tell my new students that don't worry, it's going to go away, but it'll come back. They're just trying to get you to develop. So that's why development is so important to me.
It's a very humbling experience because in other jobs, you just gain more experience, you gain more skill and grow. And this happens in this work too, but a lot of times it feels very discombobulating because what we expect is not necessarily there. And something will be greatly different, or we have to like very much just go, okay, I'm a beginner, even though I'm an expert.
Yeah.
Right? Every single time. And so, yeah, even though you might you're telling me, you've done like so many readings, right? Like hundreds and hundreds and, probably thousands at this point. And yet at times spirit will make us feel like just a beginner.
They do. That's why this work is a little stressful because it's never the same every day.
It's not. Yes, I 100% agree with you. Right?
I can have a knock it out of the park reading, and the next one I'm struggling with the guy to talk to me. I say, why?
Exactly. And the beautiful thing is, I don't want to say that there's reasons, because I guess you can't really think your way out of a hat with this one, but right. You start to understand, oh, I understand why it went like that. And that's honestly, it stimulates me so much. This work is kind of funny because it stimulates my brain so much, but then I have to go, shh, brain.
Yeah. Don't talk to me.
yeah. I just I can't think about it that way while I'm doing it. But gosh, I mean, again, it's just if philosophically, I could talk for a billion years on why this happened or how I believe, and it's just so fun to me. It's so fun to me. So I want to ask you too. So after Arthur Findlay College, you're like, I'm a medium. I know that you studied with Lisa Williams and Colby Rebel. How'd you find them and what led you to them?
It's crazy. Again, spirit will lead you to your teachers. I just feel like they do. I was on Facebook and this lady from LA who came from Jersey, really hard nosed, righty, hardcore, pops up on my Facebook with her little, I don't know if it was Coffee with Colby back then, but it was like a little 10-minute talk every morning. And she had just released her first book. And she just got me with her red lipstick. And I just started watching. I'm like, that's the kind of teacher I need, right? And I'm in Texas. So I was just watching her on Facebook. And it's just so weird how that happened. I think it's 2016. And where me and Colby are today, it's just a fascinating thing. So I found her on Facebook. And I decided to take an online class with her. She had studied with Lisa Williams and she was a master teacher with Lisa Williams. And so at that moment, she was promoting her Lisa Williams master teacher seminar that was coming up.
Yes.
And I just said, okay, I'm going to do it. And at that time, it was just psychic, which forced me to have to do that class twice to do the mediumship one. But anyway, I did the psychic one first. I was like, oh my God. So I did. I flew to LA and I met Colby. I did the whole workshop. I passed. I became certified psychic under Lisa Williams. And then I just started taking one-on-one stuff with Colby. Every time Colby would have a class, I'd fly out to LA and I took it and we just developed our relationship further. And then when the mediumship came up, I did that to get certified. And then I became a certified psychic medium with Lisa Williams. But that's how that whole process started. I just happened to stumble across her on Facebook. And then she's been an instrumental part of my life. She wrote my foreword in my book for me. Colby did. So it's become she's been one of the greatest mentors I've had. Yeah, she's been an amazing influence.
I mean, yeah, talk about a beautiful evolution, because I remember seeing that Colby actually went out to Texas. So you've done things in LA and Texas together. And that's just, that's full immersion. You're doing it.
It's like, the student has become the colleague. That's what it has, right? I finally am leveling up. I'm getting to where, we're doing things together. She's been out to Dallas twice. We were going to do another one this month, but we had the World Series at the same time and just things weren't panning out. So we're going to do it at the beginning of next year. We'll figure out another time and place to do it. But yeah, I love getting together with her. We have so much fun when we do it. And it's been evolution, right?
Yeah.
From the beginner getting yelled at and not doing anything right to getting her confidence, right? I think she had to tear my confidence down to rebuild it back up, right? But the best teachers see that in you.
Colby is very passionate, and like I think like you have to have a strong will for this work. You really do, and you have to have thick skin. And I think Colby goes, "Hey, this is what's gonna take. Let me help you," And for people who can see that, there's a lot of wealth there.
Yeah, there is, and you do have to have thick skin because this work's not easy, right? And so that's the one thing she doesn't do. She doesn't baby you. She'll tell you when you're doing it wrong. I've left her class crying many, many times, but I always came back, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Come, as long as you keep coming back. So I tell people mediumship has been the hardest thing I've ever done with the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. And that's just basically what it's done. Yeah.
Yes, I think, very well said. Yes.
Yes.
So gosh, okay. Like I feel like your life has been like lightning speed. So, because you said it opened up at 45, but then you are demonstrating with some of like the pioneers, like, like producing in UK and, United States, and you have a book and you have a podcast. So what was the next step to get you to the book? You can be a medium.
Yeah. So I think it was at that point in my career where now we're talking about, okay, how do we expand? How do we go further, right? How do we help more people in different ways? And 2019 was a rough year for me. It was a strip away year, I guess. People were taken from me, out of my lives. People were moved from my lives. I lost a dog. I lost a best friend. I lost a boyfriend of 15 years. I lost a daughter with relationship issues. Like, just if 2019 beat me up. So I decided I needed to get away and I needed to go heal and I needed to just write. And I felt like writing my story would help me do some healing and see where I came from and where I'm going, and just kind of see where I've come from in the last, at that time it was 5 years. Now we're on year 6, but that's what I did. I went to Belize.
Oh, wow. You really do travel.
And I wrote.
You went to, I was saying like, wow, that's so cool. I've never been to Belize. And I'm like, wow, you really are a traveler. So you just wrote and wrote and wrote. And so did you write that whole book in Belize? Like, how did that? Oh, it's frozen. Oh, you're back. Okay.
I'm back. Yeah, that's another thing. Getting podcast.
It's like 2019, you're back.
Right? Yeah. So I went to Belize for 30 days by myself. I started writing. I was taking a class with Thomas John on writing your authentic story. I outlined my book. I got it to where like the bones were there. And then it took 1.5 years to create after I came back. So I started it there, and then we just finished it August of this year. And then, we launched it. But I wanted to put something out there because I just felt if I would have known back when I was 19 that anybody could do this work, I probably would have changed my life back then. Or if I would have known, right, what to look for, then maybe I would have had a relationship with my dad way sooner. I mean, people are lucky nowadays because they have the internet, and the internet has come so far. There's so much more information. But back when we were when I was 19, there was no internet, right? So we had no knowledge of stuff. So I really wrote the book to educate people. Like, anybody could do this. Here's my story. I wrote it also, and I gave all the details of my beginning life so that people could relate. I'm human. I made mistakes. I've been through some stuff, and yet I can still do this work as a gift from God, right? We're not bad people. We just have experiences that we go through, right? I wanted to show people how amazing it can be to heal and have the life you've always wanted on the other side of healing. So the book kind of has all that rolled up into one. And so it's been a really good feedback from women. I get a lot of me too when they read it. They go, oh my God, I was reading my own story, or oh my God. And I think that that's beautiful. I want to connect with those women, right? Because,
it's important. I mean, it's the very essence of the book.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. It's, it's a win when people are saying me too. And they're like, I needed this, and I can see you. I can see myself in you as I read this.
Yeah. And I think that's what we did. We got there, right? People could see themselves. They can't see, oh, I had this bad life. I'm too old. I'm 45. I'm 50. No, it's never too late. Never too late to have the life you deserve and want. Never.
Right. Time's a funny thing with how we think about it, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And I have a daughter who does this work too. And I'm just so proud of her for learning it early and doing it early and going through some. And she's the one that we're having some relationship issues, but that's okay because she's figuring her out. And if I can't be a part of that process, that's okay because she's healing and she's going through some stuff, but she's figuring it out. And so I'm proud of that because I didn't do mine till later in life. Right. So.
But when she's ready, what an amazing mother, guide, and helper as she goes forward. Like not too many people have a mom that has experienced and has embraced their life like that. That's incredible.
Thank you.
Really, seriously. So it's going to be really a blessing to see her, as she comes forth.
When she gets to that point in her healing that she can. Yeah.
And that's I'm just so many blessings. I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. I love to hear about, family members and how they work through this, because you always have people who don't believe or who are interested, and you have people embracing or understanding this work on very different levels. So there's a lot of sometimes sadness and divisiveness or misunderstanding, or there's a lot of sometimes beautiful encouragement, and it's a very different mixed bag for everybody.
And it's so mixed in a family dynamic. It's just crazy to me, right? Some people are, I'm trying to think of my family, some are supportive, some were scared, some are, what are you thinking? Some are, why, right? Some are like, why would you want to do this? Some are not, all my friends have been super supportive and cheering me on. So it's just been a weird dynamic of what you think. So I don't know about you. When I first started doing this work, I couldn't wait to tell everybody. I want to tell everybody because that's the coolest thing ever. And now I'm conditioned to just keep it to myself, right? But it's just interesting because what's exciting to me and that's just how people's perspectives are in life. So anytime I'm questioning someone's perspective, I'm like, okay, well, remember, this was exciting to me, but weird to somebody else. I was on a podcast the other day, and he found this just to be the weirdest thing. And why would anybody want to do this work? I'm like, how would you not want to? I can't understand.
It's
right?
Fun.
Yeah, it's
no. I mean, so you asked, and I was the opposite actually. I was having, I didn't feel like anyone was going to understand me, and even people who were open to understanding me, they didn't really have any interest. So there was really no point to even talk about it. So, this show really helps me heal that, because I still do a lot of stuff that I don't talk about because I'm just so used to not talking about it, honestly. And so, it's needed. It's needed. So I try to talk about it more, even though naturally I don't always, I guess, go there. Right.
Yeah. I think this has helped me. It's helped me heal being in the public eye more. And I guess that's maybe, I'm trying to figure out why I want to be in the public, right? So the medium who's in the public versus the medium who's not. And I think, like we all say, things go back to our childhood, not being seen and heard. This is my way of being seen and heard, finally, right? This is how we're doing it. So everyone has their reasons, and typically goes back to childhood on how we act and react after the fact. But I think it's really interesting that you had the same issue, but you're choosing to heal it in a different way. So I think it's good. We all find our way to heal that inner child in us.
Yep. It just when we think we solved it, it goes, oh, hey, do this, or,
come back, we're not done.
Now it's that. Wow. So I want to talk about too, you have the podcast, the, the Metaphysical Happy Hour. It's in my brain, and I'm just like, I know
this name.
Because I want to say the Metaphysical Hour, but I'm like, it's Happy Hour.
Happy Hour. When you're here.
Please tell me how that came forth, and what fun you have with that. And you have a co-host, and you do it every second and fourth week.
We do. And that's just because I don't have the bandwidth to do it more. Can you imagine? Maybe if I wasn't working, we could do it more. Yeah. So my friend Cassie, she's very good at being technical. She does all the technical stuff, and she wanted to start a podcast that she's not always the best at communicating. And so she asked me, will you do this podcast with me? And I at first on didn't want to have nothing to do with no podcasts, right? Because it can be a lot of work. And so I was like, I don't know. She goes, no, you don't have to do anything. Just show up and you host it. Done. Well done. You schedule it, you run it, I'll show up and I will host it because that's what I can do. I have the gift of gab. So I will do that part, right? And I think at first it's a little hard, and you'll probably find this, like, how do I keep people talking for an hour, right? It tends to go by so fast, but I'm like, oh my God, how do I keep them engaged? How do I keep people talking? But it's been good for my confidence. It's been good for my business. It's been good to bring it out. I've met so many amazing people from all over the country that has so much amazing work. They do such amazing, great things. And so I'm starting to like it more and more. In fact, like just today, I was like making a list. How can I improve our podcast? What kind of computer do I need? What kind of, right? I'm like, how can I make this better? As I was on a podcast with someone else who does it professionally, they've got this whole room set up, their podcast stuff. I was like, yeah, maybe I could do that. So it's encouraged me. It's enlightened me. It's made me a little bit excited. And then I found out we had a numerologist on the show and she did my numerology and it just all made sense because whatever number I'm in, I forgot what it is now. I think it's a 3, but anyway, I need to be like a TV host. I should be on a show. I should be in the public eye. I was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's why it's so good for me, right? And why I like it so much. So yeah, I think I'm going to start doing more of them.
3 is a very important number like that. I love numerology.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, that's one of my passions within this work. Absolutely.
I'm starting to get into it. I was like, okay, I want to learn because it's really scientific. The thing about me, I'm super analytical.
Yeah.
Which is why I like evidential mediumship because I kind of can prove it, right?
Yeah.
If you give evidence, right? So there's some evidence
Uh-huh.
behind it. Whereas psychic and future readings, I struggle with because I'm not going to be able to prove it right then and there. So I tend to lean towards more of the scientific stuff or the things I can prove. So numerology is more scientific, so I like it. Astrology is the same way. It's just too much to learn for my brain. But yeah, I think I'm going to pick up numerology too and start studying it a little bit more.
It helps quell that. It does. Like I do more psychic than mediumship. And it's kind of funny because, right, my brain likes to be evidential too, but the numerology at times gives something grasp to. But I want to give you a heads up. It's hilarious because like I'll be doing the numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your brain is not mathematical at that time because it's free flowing. So it's like my brain actually will fight myself from doing it. So it lets me do it when I need to, but then I go like it's like mush. The numbers become mush. And I'm telling you, like I have like 15 years under my belt, and it's like it's mush. It's like it's soupy.
It's soupy.
Oh no, yeah. It's like it's basic math you can't even do if you're in that vibration. So you kind of have to like make peace as it's happening.
Yeah. I think that's why at first I'm going to do email numerology readings because I can't figure out the space yet, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
yeah.
No, that helps, but it's really fun when you have like the energy of the person too, because the randomness will come up and it's like it's so fun and so like, but the same, it makes you kind of go like, oh gosh, why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about this? There's so many stories. Like I could go to so many stories, but
I love it. All right, I'm gonna start studying numerology. So you just do it on the top?
Numerology stories. Like I'm telling you, it's so fun. Okay, like I won't even go into it, but like the thing I'll say is like because your brain gets mushy, all of a sudden I'll do a miscalculation and I go,
that's what I worry about.
Midway, I'll go, wait, this is wrong. But they're like, everything that you said to me is spot on. And so spirit will actually make me pull a different number and I will completely talk about their life because it gives me so much more aspects on top of what then I properly do calculate for.
Yes. And you have the numbers memorized? Would you say? The numbers memorized and what they mean?
Oh, yeah, backwards and forward. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
All there, all the calculate. Yes.
Exactly. I need to get to where I'm that good. It's like,
I'm telling you, like it's I have an encyclopedia of stuff, and it's just like it still gets soupy, but that's how my brain works, and maybe yours won't. I pray that is
Don't do that. Don't turn to mush. It does
Oh, yeah.
already. I already have the brain that wants to, and you'll notice it. I'm noticing it myself on podcasts. Because when I do readings, I like to look up and I just start looking. I'm like,
Oh,
Tracey,
yeah.
you're not on a reading. Get back down here.
But that's okay. I think that's okay though, because it's like you have to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
You have to surrender to being somewhere else. But yes, I understand. You're still on camera. I hear
Yeah.
you.
I'm like, yeah. I think I'm not looking at that. And I even did it yesterday. I had a client meeting. And like, I haven't had a client meeting in over 2.5 years. And so I'm sitting in front of her and my eyes are like going this way because I'm so used to be on Teams or on Zoom where you don't see me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's sitting in front of me. Tracey, just look at her. She's going to think you're lying or something because my eyes are everywhere.
I think people, it's funny because I like think I'm like, I probably look crazy at times, but people find it oddly endearing because they're just like, oh, like it's so strange. It has to be real. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It's part of the like, okay, this person's not just talking with me, right?
Right. Oh, it's awful. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's great. It's good times. Talk to me about the Metaphysical Happy Hour.
Yeah.
Metaphysical.
So we got together for the show and she books all of her clients, but they all have a metaphysical twist to it. They all do something. So I've learned just so much. And so we do like a little 5-minute, what do we call it? Just read their bio, introduce them. Then I usually will interview them, right? I'll have a list of questions and we'll get them to be interviewed because most of our listeners don't do this for a living. So they're just they're learning, right? They're listening to learn. And then probably about 40 minutes till the top of the hour, we'll do little card pulls. So all three of us will just pull cards for people. And that gets the audience on YouTube. We're on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok, gets them all engaged. And so we'll do card pullings and things like that. So we've been doing it about 1.5 years now. And it's going really well. We're finally getting some named people. Thomas John came on our show not too long ago. Colby's come on our show. And we're starting to get the guts to ask people, grow, right?
You got it.
Guts to ask is the biggest part, right? Do you have the guts to ask?
The worst thing is no. The worst thing is no, right? And that's not that bad.
That's it. And like I tell people, I know we're not doing you a favor because we don't have tons and tons and tons of followers, but you'd be doing me a really big favor by letting us interview you.
Honestly, I think like, correct. There's so many different types of platforms and formats, but like someone's going to see their interview and that's a book sale. That's an entry. They're going to tell their friends. Like it's honestly, it's worth its weight in gold, even though like it's just a platform that's still building. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is. And it's been super interesting for me ever since I wrote the book. I've been on Podmatch and trying to get on podcasts. So I'm learning, right? It's been an interesting process to learn all the podcasts that are out there. So many people listening to podcasts, doing podcasts. It's been an interesting learning curve for me, for sure.
It is. But I do really feel like even though there's been a surge of podcasts, there's so many niches, right?
Niches, yes.
And I've always like, it's funny, and I don't know if you feel like this in Texas too, but in LA or like Orange County, there's so many intuitive people here. And because, like you think about California and it's like, oh, it's just like, hey, dude, and laid back and or open minds, right? So there's a lot of people who actually do this work and do it actually quite well. And there's always enough, like there's always so many people that it's just like, even though there's 1 billion podcasts, like your people will find you.
They will
right?
find you. Yes.
It's kind of like, okay, just let it
ride out. Flow, right? Flow. We've got people who come on every single time. I'm like, Jesus, we have fans. Yeah. I'm excited. Just like you have a fan, Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Yes. Hey, Kevin. Thanks for the shout out. Appreciate it. That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm what is the next step? I always like to ask, what is the next step? because you have just been envisioning so much for your life and creating it. Or
Yeah.
please tell me about what you're falling in love with right now and what you're working on right now.
Yeah. So I think next steps, building my mentorship. Well, I have a mentorship. So getting back into teaching again. I think I got so burnt out that I stopped last year teaching. So maybe getting back into teaching. Next year is about exposure. So I want to travel more. I'm going to Virginia in December. It would be my first time serving a spiritualist church, the Memorial Spiritualist Church in Norfolk,
Awesome.
Virginia. I'll be there for 3 days. So that finding people, finding places to go visit, and just expanding into other areas of the country. I think that's my mission for next year, and promoting the book and getting that out there. Oh, he's really enjoying the show. Yay. So yeah, just the book was a big one and finishing it finally. So I think I'll spend next year just traveling, promoting, expanding. That's kind of the next thing for me. And then maybe teaching. Mhm.
Do you foresee yourself opening up any different avenues within your mediumship or your psychic work? You said numerology. You're starting
Yeah.
to learn more ways to work with numerology and put it out there.
Yeah,
So, yes.
I did. I started doing like emailed readings, some things that I'm trying to practice on, just because I'm not confident enough to do them live yet. So numerology was one of them. I'll do an email reading of numerology. I'm starting to do like a tarot card pull because I want to learn tarot, but tarot is a hard one for me to learn, right? Because it's so many moving, there's a lot to learn in tarot. So I said, I'll do a 3-card tarot pull. So I'm starting to learn little things more on the psychic level. My mediumship, I feel I'm good. I just probably need to do more gallery readings. That's probably something I'll be doing a lot more of, just to feel more comfortable. I'm really confident now in my one-on-ones, so I'm really good there. It's the gallery and the dems that I'm not as confident in. And so maybe expanding more that way will be next year as well. Now that people got used to Zoom, I think that's really good. Or they got used to online stuff, where before people didn't like to go online because they didn't think it worked for this kind of work. But I think more and more people are doing stuff online. So I can have more reach, I think. So yeah, just figuring out what works to expand and grow.
There's so much, right? There's so much with the platforms that we use, and
Yeah.
they all work the same, but they're all a little different. So I hear you. I'm always like, dabbling too. If you ever like, so every Friday we do live numerology readings. So if you ever want to
Can I come
come,
play and practice?
yeah, if you ever want to come play, seriously.
Yes. Let me know. Message me.
For real, yes, please. The doors are open to the playhouse, and it's super fun.
Is it
And
fun?
yeah, it's like like a psychic reading, like on email versus like live. The energy is just like it dances, right? So
Yeah.
we both dance. Don't get me wrong, but it's super fun. And
I
then
want to watch
sometimes
it. I want to watch someone do a live numerology reading. I think that's interesting. Yeah.
it's like whether it's the comments or sometimes we have people come live on the screen, so it's like split
Yeah.
screen.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's really fun. It's a lot of fun. Um, so I want to ask too as well, do you see yourself actually writing more books?
Now that I got the first one out of the way, the first one was the hardest one. If you talk to most authors, they say, never again. That's probably what I said after the first one. I'm like, never again. That was a project, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean,
Huge.
like I mean, this year you've produced a baby, right?
Yes, it's a baby, right? Yeah, but I do have some ideas for more. The hardest part of about writing a book, I can have a concept, but how
Oh, we're gonna get you back. We're gonna get you back.
am I
Oh, you're
back?
back. Yes, you're
Yeah.
back.
I always have difficulties with StreamYard. And I even used a different computer this time, hoping it would eliminate that. So I got to figure out what's going on.
Yes, yes. There's so many like, woof, what is technology, right?
Technology doesn't always like us energy people, not all the time. But yeah, I do have another book in mind, just trying to figure out how it's going to expand to 250 pages. But yeah, I think I have the bug. I think once you write your first one, there's a little bug, right? Because now you know how it works. And you're like, okay, this one's going to be faster. I'm going to write it in 2 months instead of a year and a half.
Yeah, it feels like more is in the canon, ready to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, you said it's interesting. You're like, oh, like I have to. How do I form this concept? Well, I mean, my goodness, like you birthed. You can be a medium, and it just was. Even though I think like on the outside, it seems like a book is effortless. Can you like talk about kind of what you had to get to produce that book?
Yes, it's not effortless, that's for sure. Putting everything in an outline that makes sense was really hard, right? Pulling everything together. You have all this stuff and you're going to try to write a book, and then you figure out when you try, that's probably 3 different books, right? So really scaling down and really trying to figure out who my audience is, what the message is going to be, and coming up with a way to write it where it makes sense. That was pretty difficult. And then it was really difficult to rehash my childhood and rehash some of that hurtful stuff. And so we found a way to where I could tell my story instead of type my story. And I think that was easier for me because I could just get on like a Zoom call and just tell it. And then we sent it off to a transcriber and they would transcribe it. And then we got it back. And then I could go in there and manipulate it more. But it got me through the whole writing process up through the trauma, because that was the difficult part, writing through the trauma, right? Writing about mediumship, that's all in me, right? I can do that. It was getting past the blocks in my heart to write about the trauma. That was a lot, right? And then you've got the editing portion, and that took a lot of time. You got to have someone take a look at it because your brain wants to fill in words, redo numbers and redo letters. And so, just the whole editing process can take a couple of months for someone to read it, go through it with a fine-tooth comb, be asking questions about it. Did you mean this or did you mean that? So yeah, it's all encompassed, especially if you want to do it right. And for me, that was the most important thing. If I'm going to publish and put something out there, I have to have it done right. And not everybody is a perfectionist like I was. Like some people just put it out there and not worry about it. But I didn't want one person coming back to me saying I forgot a comma or I didn't spell this right, right? So that was super important to me. So I hired an editor. And then the selling part is really tough, getting it out there. How do you put it out there, right? So the marketing behind it can be really tough and ongoing and a job in itself, posting every single day, trying to get people to buy it, hyping it up. So it's a job. You don't just write and let it go. It can be a job for sure. But I can tell you, the minute it hit Amazon, it was all worth it, right? There's that excitement and that joy. If I would have had champagne, I would have been drinking it because it's like, finally, it's here and we're done, right? Like, oh, finally, yeah.
Chris is talking about been thinking about writing a book for a while, and it's nice to hear success stories since getting started seems so overwhelming.
It's very overwhelming. Like I said, you're trying to come up and organize it in your thoughts in your head. What I would suggest you do, start writing an outline, right? And putting things in the outline and crossing things out and say, no, it'd probably be better talked about here. Just when you think about the whole picture, it feels so big, but just start with an outline. Like A, B, C, D, to A, B, C, D, and just go from there. Yeah.
Oh, wow, Chris, he's talking about, he just put out an album, and yeah, seeing it on the storefronts was worth it.
So worth
it.
So worth it. Like it just gets really exciting. And then we had to work to become number one, because you go publish and then you work really hard to get at least a number one on Amazon, because then you can it's like a bragging rights kind of thing. So every day it's like contest, watching it. Did it hit number one today? Did it hit number one? Getting all your friends, please go buy. We got to hit number one. So it can be exciting. And then when it finally hits number one, it's just another high that you're on, and you're writing another high for a couple of days. So there's a lot of highs and lows to writing a book, but there's some of the highs are the greatest ones ever.
Congratulations. Yeah. With Chris and his album. That's awesome. Yeah, and then with, you mentioned that, oh my gosh, my brain, all of a sudden, like my brain does a little somersault. Yeah, I was somewhere, and then all of a sudden I'm right. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask. Speaking of being somewhere, like within your mediumship. So when you are, compiling a book and you're healing and you're pouring your soul into it and you're reviewing your life, I would imagine that your mediumship and your psychic just grow.
It did. It really, really did. And I wasn't even thinking about that, but once the book I was done with my part, and then we left, and I spent 3 weeks in Costa Rica after my part was all done. And I swear I came back from that trip, like heightened awareness, heightened change, like everything because I jumped from one and went right to vacation, right to zoning out. And yes. And I came back and just telling people something changed. I feel like it got heightened because I got deep and I let stuff go, and I've been healing still more, right? But you're right. I think it did. And I wasn't even expecting that part.
there's so much going in within the soul within
Again,
that,
yeah.
just like, yeah, had to been lightning afterwards. If I may to ask, where can people find you if they want to contact you, or do you have anything coming up where they can
Mhm.
be a part of if they want to get a reading from you
Yeah.
or another kind of service?
Yeah. So right now, I only have one more in-person thing coming up, and that's in Virginia, December 9th, 10th, and 11th. I'll be in Norfolk, Virginia at the Memorial Spiritualist Church. Other than that, I'm just doing readings until the end of the year, and then we'll start over next year traveling and going out to places again. But you can find me on Facebook, The Red Couch Medium, Instagram, The Red Couch Medium, TikTok, The Red Couch Medium. And I do have a website where you can book a reading, you can buy a book, you can go on Amazon and buy my book too, but it's theredcouchmedium.com. Everything's Red Couch Medium. And then if you want to buy my book, you can go on Amazon and type in "You Can Be a Medium" or type in Tracey Escobar and it'll come right up.
Awesome. Yes, I always, as we're closing the show, I always give the guest like a final word if they want to share an inspiration, whether it's something, off the cuff or something they truly believe in. So what would you like to leave people?
I want to tell you guys this one affirmation that I got when I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I was laying in bed and I just heard this. And this is kind of what changed everything because I went and wrote it on my bathroom mirror. So I want to share it with you guys because literally you're one choice away from living the best life you can live. I'm telling you. And this affirmation that was given to me was, you are meant to be greater than you are. So I want to pass that on to you guys. You are meant to be greater than you are today, period. So strive to be better, strive to be great. Go through your spiritual awakening, go on your journey, drop the excuses and then just go, just do it. Yep. That's it. You're meant to be greater than you are.
Just jump and
Just
go for
jump. Just go. Let it flow. Let it end where it's going to end.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tracey. I appreciate your words of wisdom, and I loved hearing about your story. And now I know about the Red Couch.
Yay! Thank you for having me, Kelly. It's been a great show.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who has popped down a hello. Next week, we will be doing our interview series and our reading show. So you can find us on Wednesdays and Fridays. And please, too, as well, we have an event coming up. Lisa Williams is doing an event in Tampa. Torin and I will be there assisting in Florida. So if you're curious about that, check out Lisa's Psychic Intensive coming up in December. Just everyone is welcome. And we have some other things going on as well, too. So with Tracey and I, we're happy living our lives serving. Please, everyone, go with love, light, luck, and don't forget to live. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye, Tracey. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.